Thanks for tuning in to the Medevac podcast, powered by the Robert Irvine Foundation, whose mission is to support and strengthen the physical and mental well-being of our nation's heroes and their families. I'm one of your hosts, David Reid.
And I'm your other host, Christian Meyers. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Medevac podcast. If you're new here, there's a price for the show. You have to share it with a friend or family member if you get something out of today's episode. Go interact with the content somehow. Leave a review, please. Those reviews help us a ton. Our guest today is Ryan Chastain. Ryan is a 20-year infantryman, 11 Bravo, 11 Zulu, from 2003 to 2023, so recently retired. And he is one of the fundraising managers,
Yeah.
is that a good way to put it, at Military Warrior Support Foundation. So we're here to talk to him about his service and what their organization does. So welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great to see that you're actively engaged in the community. I know we just came back from Best Ranger competition in good old Georgia. I have to say Fort Moore now, not Fort Benning, which is just unfortunate.
It's so confusing.
Coming as and you could probably attest this as 11 Bravo.
Yes, it's still better than Fort Liberty.
Oh, true story. Yes.
When they said that, I was like, oh.
You know why? I figured out why they settled on this. So they actually had deliberation between the conventional assets and the soft assets on base, and they couldn't come to an agreement whether they wanted to name it after a soft guy or a conventional guy. So they just went with Liberty.
Liberty.
Lame.
It's lame. It's lame with all the lineage from that base.
I mean, like, we have like 15 different gyms named after Medal of Honor recipients. Like, just pick somebody.
Yeah, there's all sorts of people.
This ego thing about who has to do it. Like, just do it.
Just someone pick it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
So let's peel it back and rewind it to when and why you were motivated to join the military.
Well, to be completely honest, I mean, I will tell you that my entire family was in. We only had, everybody was officers. They all went to college and everything. And then we only have two other enlisted, which was my grandfather. And of course he went to OCS and then ended up flying helicopters. And then my one of my great uncles, he retired as a sergeant major. But essentially, I didn't know where I was going. We had a huge family lineage in the military, so I knew it was a safe place to be. I kind of wanted to go anyway. And so, you know, I actually have to give credit to my best friend in high school, Bo. He was joining the Navy. I tried to stop him, but I was not successful. He actually had to go to talk to the recruiter, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just pop in over here. And so I popped in, and I liked what I heard, and so I'm like, all right, let's do this shit.
That's funny. You went in with one mindset and left with a complete opposite, huh?
Yeah, I think I just, you know, it was like, well, it gave me direction. And I was already comfortable with the military, comfortable with doing it. Everybody in my family's been in my uncle-in-law was, I'll forgive him for this, but he was an Air Force officer. No, I'm kidding. I love him to death. He was great. Yeah, that's the only, everybody else is Army. And so I was like, oh, well, that's what I'm going to do. And then, of course, I scored high enough in the ASVAB, you know. They had to make you take the little test. And like, oh, you got a 68. And then, of course, they're like, when and where?
Yeah,
you know,
we need
like,
you now.
Here's my contract. You know, we need you. I'm like,
And I mean, 2003 is also like a dire time for needing troops in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, joined my senior year, was in a DEP program the whole year, and then headed out in August. Actually found out not too long after that. Most of them joined after they graduated, but I think they ended up putting in about 45 people, roughly around there, from our graduating class, which was huge. It was one of the, I think they said they were number 3 in the nation.
Wow.
For high school kids.
Wow. And where's this again?
Katy,
Okay.
Texas.
Okay.
Out of Katy High School. So,
Wow. Makes sense.
yeah. Well, it was weird because I just started running into people from my class, like randomly, like at Fort Liberty. I was about to say Fort Bragg.
Yes.
Fort Liberty, Fort Moore, and just overseas in Iraq, just would like randomly run into like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So it was very interesting.
But that family lineage and kind of a lack of direction led you to military.
Yeah. Long story short, yes.
Yeah.
Intended on doing 4 years, then going to college, but went to my first deployment in 05 to 06 and was just like, we're doing this, and just stayed.
Fell in love with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, and then also I kind of wanted to do some, 3-letter organizations.
Yeah.
And you're already on the wrong path if I'm not already an officer. So
Yeah.
I was like, and I didn't like the choices either, kind of how they went about doing things. So I was like, I'll stick here and do this. So,
and so what did that career look like for you when first deployment,
So I actually ended up at a one platoon, one company testing unit at I'm going to keep saying Fort Bragg. Sorry.
We'll forgive you. Don't worry.
We'll forgive you, and everybody else will. I think our whole audience base will be like, "Yeah, we're not gonna call it."
And they'll know what you're talking about too.
Well, it's interesting when I talk to friends from there, and it's like the soft community is like rebelling.
Yeah.
But in the 82nd, they're like, if you call it Fort Bragg, we're going to give you an Article 15. It's like, oh my God, here we go.
That's ridiculous because if you actually drive around those bases, there's still signage that they haven't replaced.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, and especially at Fort Moore, they're just Fort Bennings everywhere still.
I haven't even noticed. Like I went there and I didn't notice, and I was just like, because I was moving so fast, but I didn't notice. It's like, but what's funny is nothing's changed there, except there's no strip clubs anymore.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's it all kind of stays the same, right? Different tempos, though. The biggest thing that I've noticed, especially going around those bases, is just the standards have changed so much. As you have people in ponytails and long hairs, painted nails, piercings everywhere, tattoos wherever, and that's a crazy one to me, to get my head around as well. But that's a whole different topic.
Yes, I'm sorry I keep diverting you.
No, it's all good.
So. OSIT, Airborne School, ended up at 511th Parachute Infantry Regiment. We were testing the LOSAT program, which was basically a 10-foot kinetic energy missile on top of a Humvee. We were capable of taking out an entire, and no tank was safe in the world.
Yeah.
Including ours. So it was a beautiful thing. And it was meant for airborne and whatnot because we can drop them. They're light. You don't have to, and they used a big FLIR on the top, kind of like the Kiowa did. So we just poke up over a hill and we could fire 16 missiles, take out an entire company like that because they move 1,000 meters a second.
Wow.
They ended up, we got it completely finished and they ended up sidelining the program. And then the Army canceled it. But we ended up getting folded into the 82nd and then did 3 deployments with them.
Curious still why they canceled the program.
I don't know. Well, I was
great at the time.
I was a specialist, so
Yeah.
I was like, it was a need to know, I guess. They originally told us they were waiting on the CChem, which was a compact, instead of a 9 or 10 foot missile, it was a 6 foot. And then it just, they got in that mindset, we're never going to get in a tank battle again, and just shelved it. And I don't know why they haven't brought it back, and they brought back that tank instead, but it is what it is. I don't control that, and I don't really care.
Yeah. The decisions they make are all 8 and 10 years out anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe they had something newer and badder coming out.
I hope so. It's kind of hard to beat that
I was
thing.
going to say, if it'll take out
It's
an
like
Abrams,
the Tony Stark, where he launches it and it blows up the entire mountain.
Yeah. Truly, it was like watching the future. We're talking about taking, some of the most advanced takes out in the world at 7,000 meters.
Wow.
Before they even knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's twice the range they can fire, and 3 times the range they can effectively fire. So it's kind of I don't even know what, anyway.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I did 3 tours. We got folded, not in the 80s. Well, it was kind of 82nd, but we got folded into Corps Artillery. Did 1 tour with them, then 2 tours with 2505. Ended up as a drill sergeant, got selected for that.
So what year were you a drill sergeant?
10 to 12.
10 to 12. So with your range of being in the military from, pretty much the entire length of GWAT, how did that temperament change from, because we talk about this all the time, is that individualist mentality really started getting into the military kind of towards the later end. But I think you were the red card era, right? Is that 2013?
No, not at all. We didn't have that. Fort Moore, we didn't really have those issues. We were kind of, It's kind of like Ranger School, like they're sheltered. Like they get to do things that other people don't. And so we were still able to really break people down. We still had kill zones. We still did a lot of things that I went through that was still kind of prevalent. Couldn't do as much as they did to us, but we just had to be smarter about it. But still absolutely taking them from where they were and breaking them all the way down and building them back up.
So can you, we actually have not touched upon that kind of topic. Can you paint that picture of what that looks like, the reasoning behind that as well? It starts at a very high extreme environment. And like you said, I just want you to break down a little bit of like breaking them down and building them back up, the whys behind that, and maybe something that was instilled upon you in drill instructor school.
And I can tell you, I wasn't from drill instructor school.
Yeah.
But definitely like from just what the Army had taught me in the future. And I like to tell everybody this. We don't take bad people and make them good. We take good people and make them great, and great people and make them outstanding, because we give them direction, purpose, motivation, the definition of leadership and all that, and the values that we instill. But essentially, so you kind of what we would do is they come in and kind of take away their identity as who they are, and then start breaking them down as far as to what their values are. So, and a lot of people say, you're taking away humanity, it's bad, blah, blah, blah. But what we're trying to do is take away all of their bad habits from 18 to 24 years, and then inculcate them with the values and the ethos that we have. And then to teach them why that's important, and so that they can properly inculcate themselves into our culture.
Sure.
Especially during that time, we're still at war, and trying to get them to understand that, like, you may leave here and you're gone, like you're going overseas, and you won't have time to learn that as you go. You're going to have to be ready to go hot.
So what are some of those consistent bad habits, if you will?
Individualism, selfishness, just those kind of things. A lot of social cliques, had to pull apart people in their cliques, and really, I was a first platoon, and we went alphabetically. So, I ended up with a lot of Hispanic names. And so we'd go through, and if like we were having a problem with cliques, we'd start moving them to other platoons.
Okay.
So that way we could break that apart and have them understand that we're all here together.
Yeah.
We're all doing this together.
Big team.
Yeah, it's one big team, and like I don't really care what you think. We got to be here to support each other, and really getting those values and those ethos like just pounded into them, so that they don't even think about that. That's not even a forethought. It's like, if I do this, does it go against that?
So what do you see in some of the issues we're facing now? I mean, obviously with recruitment and retention, you're finding that individualist mentality has pushed itself a lot farther into the military. No one wants to join now, right? So I think there's something that shifted, in your experience and your Overwatch. What do you think that is?
If I can be honest, I think we're just in a low point of one of the waves.
Yeah.
We do these waves with recruiting. And generally in the past, from what I've noticed, is we bring people in and then we inculcate them into our culture while we're trying to like mold ourselves around them. And just, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You can't come in with those habits and then be successful.
Yeah.
Because then it kind of breaks down who we are. And so I think a lot of it is they're not being broken down enough to get ready for because we're not an easy culture. We're a difficult culture. We ask a lot of people. And you have to be driven to be successful. And for us to work, for our organization to work. And I think we don't mold them well enough. And then I don't think it's changed with the kids coming in. It's always kind of been the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't throw money at them anymore. We have to come up with different ways. But I don't think one of the big issues is we don't sell the military the way we should.
That's the consistent kind of answer we get to that a lot across the board is that we're selling the secondaries, the tertiaries, and not the primaries anymore.
Yeah.
The core values of what the military teaches, and it's about college or what you're doing after, or, you know, I think that's exactly it, is that we have to shift focus back on to what you're there for and what you're there to do.
Yeah.
I think the Marine Corps has done a great job of maintaining that too.
Yes.
100%.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago with a guest, is that the Marine Corps has just maintained the value of, do you want to be here?
Yes.
You will earn your place here then.
Yes.
And there's nothing else.
Absolutely.
Do you get the benefits? Yeah, but that's not why you're here. Like, you have to want to be here for this reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're great. I mean, they've flown under the radar as far as like the social movements, have been able to just maintain, you know, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And we learn those lessons as we go. And I think it'll change, you know, as people move out of the Army and top leadership moves out and ideas change and values, you know, not values change, but ideas change and how we go about doing business. And I think it'll just, it's the post-war cycle.
Yeah,
I think
that makes sense. Morality is kind of at a big time low right now.
But I will tell you, because they forced me to do recruiting as well, and I will tell you that it is amazing what people think. I was in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I couldn't tell you how many people you talk to, and they think the military is only for people who, unless it's Air Force, but they think everything else is only for people who have no other options or going to jail. And it's like,
Really?
are you serious? Like, we can't even accept those people.
Yeah, that's an old school, like that's an old school mentality for sure, but it's trickled and kind of infected the minds.
It's prevalent everywhere. It's crazy. You know, even children of veterans were saying this, and I'm like, really?
Interesting.
Yeah, we haven't done that, I mean, since the 90s, right?
Yeah, no, I think the Navy was the last one to do it, and they stopped in the very early 2000s.
Taking people from prison.
Not from prison, but like
The
go to
option.
deferment.
go to jail or join the military.
Yeah, and that also caused a huge problem and shift in the military on its own, because now you had people that didn't want to be there, and you know, so I think that's the difference. We talked about the difference too between conventional and special operations as well.
Yes.
And that's just like, and I think infantry is a different breed all on its own, because if you're there in infantry, you want to be there for the most part. But that all volunteer aspect makes all the difference in the world of someone who wants to be there and someone who's just getting there for their college education. And now we're pitching that, you know, we're pitching like, in 4 years, you could have this if you invest in this period. And that's so wrong, right? It's in 4 years, you could come out a better person, you know, and see the world, blah, blah, blah. Maybe if it's the Army, we just talked about this, it's not going to be the best parts of the world.
I don't know. I got to go to, I mean, we lived in Italy for 3.5 years.
That's beautiful.
It's pretty great.
And there is some, like, I think, the 23rd out in like, Honolulu or whatever, or Hawaii, whatever. There's some great places out there, but for the most part, you're going to a Dust Bowl.
Yes. Yeah. Either, well, I mean, you got a Dust Bowl or you're up in a mountain or something, or
something
somewhere
cold.
where it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, I got to see the world, but the worst places in the world.
I think in for most infantrymen out there or those who are considering going, is just understand that infantry and special operations don't move through they move through the most difficult terrain.
Yes.
On purpose, so they're not seen.
And we will pack you with as much crap as we humanly can.
Right.
And you don't want to go without any of it.
Yeah.
So, that's right. And if you do, like, how many times have we all been on that situation? Like, do I really need this level 4 right now?
3 hours later, damn it, I wish I brought this.
So that makes me think of a story, because in the 173rd, we're a temperate unit. Like, we're a temperate environment unit. We went to, in the middle of February, we did cold response in Norway. And so they put us out there, needless to say, and we froze our ass off.
I bet.
Like, and I didn't know this, because I've never like been in the snow like that. And so a lot of us didn't bring our sleeping pads, because we don't jump with those. Like, that's one of the first things to go. You don't bring your sleeping pad. Well, that is not something you do in a cold environment.
Oh, necessary.
So we were with the Swedish in this yurt, which was amazing, by the way. And the yurt was like, I don't know, it must have been 80 degrees in there. But the minute you got on the ground and tried to go to sleep, it like sucked the life out of you.
Vacuum.
It was like having your soul sucked by a ginger. It was crazy.
and I'm outnumbered here, which
Yeah.
is very uncomfortable at the very least.
Should be.
Yeah, so that's probably why they did it too. They're like, these guys are not ready for it, so let's just throw them into the mix.
Hey, we got through it.
Yeah.
We got through it with very little, almost no hyperthermia, and only one person got frostbite. But that was because they're dumb.
That's a win
It
for
didn't-
February
yeah.
in Norway.
Yeah, and didn't listen to change your socks. And,
Yeah.
you know, don't wear Mickey Mouse boots all the time. But have you ever had those meals, the winter meals?
What did they look like?
They're in the white packages instead of the brown.
I don't think so.
Really?
I
I
don't
don't
think I've
think I
had those.
have.
If you ever get your hands on those, fantastic.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think Mountain Warehouse makes them for the military.
Okay.
So they're quality dehydrated meals, and it's like,
Oh, nice.
I mean, you just it's
It's not like an egg omelet from the MR.
5-star dining.
what was that one that came out? The egg and something, I forgot what it was.
Veggie omelet?
Yes,
Veggie omelet.
We
Yeah.
had that, and I'm
I
just
like
like,
veggie
"Bleh."
omelet. Yeah.
That one is to this day it's horrifying. I remember that kind of like peeling out of the like just like a
Gelatinous.
Yeah,
like a
pile.
slap.
yeah, and then it, like I always say this one like in Ranger School you get an option for your heat pack to like heat your water for shaving or just scraping cold metal on your or you're heating your food.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, what year did you go through?
2010.
Okay, you actually went before me.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
I finished drill and then I went.
Okay.
So I went in 12. That was interesting. Those are interesting times.
Yeah, I feel you. So let's kind of rewind it back a little bit and talk about your deployments and what they look like. So did you do year-long deployments?
Yeah, so two were year long and one was about 8 months.
Okay.
I did my first one. We were at Taji, and we were attached to that Corps Artillery. So we ended up doing foot patrols at the Taji Market, and then we did convoy security. And so just running around the country. I was a gunner.
So lots of ID exposure, I'm sure.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, and it was a transition time. So like, we just went to fully up armored. We started getting the Dukes. We started getting all of the different systems. We ran a red green in ours, which was interesting because I actually learned how to do more of the technical stuff with radios to overcome the active system in the red green. But a lot of it, we hadn't really, EFPs were only on Route Irish.
Mm-hmm.
And so there wasn't a lot of that. And so it was really just riding down the road, and then a 155 goes kadoosh, and you're like, damn it, let's keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of that. And then just getting to experience what some of the other FOBs went through.
Mm-hmm.
What was the name of that FOB? I had a bunch of friends that were there as well. At the same time I was ending up going through there. It was just down the road from Biop, like straight down Route Irish from Biop. And it wasn't Route Irish; it was another route. That Rustamaya was the one with the EFPs.
Yeah, those EFPs were pretty brutal.
Yeah, by the third deployment, it was bad.
Yeah, devastating.
But I lost a friend that year from it. We were in the big Max Pros, and we had the big Alaska barriers up, and they would put like 16-inch EFPs on the back of them, and these things would go through they'd go through the Alaska barriers, they go through that like 4 inches of armor, and then through the truck on both sides and through the Alaska barrier, and they put like 6 of them on the back of it, and there was like nothing left of a truck. It was insane.
Yeah, that gets difficult and taxing as well. So I'm sure, I mean, you just got out in 2013. So
2023.
I'm sorry, 2023.
Yeah.
My mistake. So my point was what were you doing during Kabul? The exit of Afghanistan.
I was actually at where was I? I was actually here. I was in San Antonio. I was in SMSI at UTSA.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was there, and so I was just watching it, really trying not to pay attention to it because it was
just infuriating, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean, watching that because I have some I have good friends and family that are kind of around some of those people. So just kind of understanding what was going on. And then just listening to the narrative was infuriating. But I guess I didn't get too mad because everybody had, I spent almost 3 years in Iraq.
Yeah.
And everybody had already forgotten about that. So like, and
So you felt it already.
yeah, like we left Iraq, but nobody said anything.
That's true.
And it was just like, it was gone. It was done.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this must be what the Vietnam veterans feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And that's kind of my next question is, especially when you're still currently active duty at the time, you still feel like your hand is in the pot. You're still in the mix. And having that happen, I mean, to this day, I think every single veteran that I've talked to is like, yeah, I know what I was doing exactly on that day when that happened. And that was just like, what was it all for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you that because I really tried not to pay attention to it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get caught up in any of that. People ask me about it. I'm like, I don't want to get caught up in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It's not worth getting angry about. It's not worth anything because it is. I don't have any control over it.
It is what it is.
It's true. But you said you had that feeling previously when we left Iraq. Do you remember having like a conscious thought of that feeling, or is it something that kind of resonated later after reflecting on it?
It was later on.
Okay.
Because they changed to, I think, Operation Red Dawn, whatever. No, I was going to say Red Dawn. Red Dawn's a movie.
Nice.
Red whatever it was, or whatever they went to for like they're doing the transitioning period. And I think more for me, at that time, it was people were coming back still with like certain things, and we're like, you guys it's not combat anymore over there. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, but there's still combat going on over there.
Yeah, there was absolutely there was still stuff going on, but it was just
over there today.
It was interesting.
Yeah,
just how they were selling it, I guess. The narrative that was coming out, but I guess you just stop and think about it, and you're like it's gone.
Yeah,
like nobody said anything, nobody cared, it was just done, quietly off, and then the whole thing. Because I think it got overridden by the fact that ISIL started going nuts over there, and then it became a special operations fight.
Yeah,
and so I think we got lost in the transition.
Yeah,
not us, but the idea of Iraq got lost in the transition.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. So how did that lead? I mean, lots of things happening.
Yeah.
During the time you're about to get out of the military. Are you like, how was your transition out? Like, did you have to fight any demons or anything like that? Or did you feel prepared to exit into the real world?
I thought I was prepared. I actually did an entire timeline and so I started 2 years out and I did the whole thing. And, but yes, dealing with a lot. My wonderful wife, she's stuck with me for all this time, but things, just not dealing with the past had created, I was kind of a monster. I was a real asshole and didn't really care about much and didn't pay attention to much. And so I actually went to an IOP here at BAMC, and that was really good. And kind of did all that. I think the biggest part for me was just jumping from the military to the civilian world. It's so different.
Agreed.
It's so different. And I struggle with it every single day. With just people and just how sensitive they are and how I have to, I literally I have to watch everything I do and say because I can't just be who I am. But as far as the transition piece with the actual military, some of it was really good. And some of it was like, are you serious right now? Are you
So we talked about that earlier of like building you up, breaking you down, building you back up again. And I think that if you look at the exit of that, we don't do that anymore. It's just like you're in this environment. This is where you're from. And especially a decade or two ago, right? Now we've gotten better practices in place, but they're still not there to break that back down again and teach you how to get back and integrate into society. I mean, you're still fresh off the boat,
Yes,
if you will.
yes, still waving the flag.
And there's going to be, like for me, that huge moment when I realized there was no accountability for myself anymore.
Yeah.
Like getting out and being like, I always use the Forrest Gump example when he's playing ping pong. He comes, gets a letter, and he just runs out the door. There's no one watching you anymore. So I think that's a huge one. It's just like, okay, plug back in and see how you do. So what are these veterans doing?
I think a lot of them struggle for a long time. They eventually find their way, but
some. But
Some.
also to be recognized is the national. The veteran suicide rate is 57% higher than the national average.
Yeah.
So there is still a disconnect there.
Absolutely. And I guess the best way to sum it up is like when I went to go get my DD-214 and I walked into transition services, the guy was great. And so I signed my DD-214s and he goes, well, here's a flag, here's a sticker, here's a pin. Have a nice day.
It's in a pre-built box.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even that. It was in plastic. And I'm like, and it wasn't even folded. It's just like.
Just in the bag.
And nothing against them and all of my certificates. So here's our certificates. And, and I'm like, and I looked at him and said, is that it? And he goes, yeah, you're good. I'm like, well, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And so it was just a weird, like, as you're going out kind of feeling like, we're done with you. Goodbye. So, but I think to your point on how we are doing better, but I think we're doing better with the lower ranks.
Good point.
Which it's more necessary for them because, they have less, I can come out and I can kind of sell my stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of them really don't know how, which is like kind of like our Leadership for Life program that we have with the foundation kind of helps that group out a lot, and giving them confidence to take those skills. But I think the senior population really we get completely left out.
Yeah, and it is like I have this conversation all the time. Who takes care of the leaders?
Nobody.
And I have this conversation. I speak a lot. I go around for the Robert Irvine Foundation, and I'm engaging with these people. Medal of Honor recipients are big ones too. Is these guys are out in front of everybody and expected to share their story over and over and over again, and maintain that image of strength. So I have behind the scene conversations with some of them, and like they're struggling. They have struggles too, but they're limited now on who they could approach because they have to be strong for everybody else. And it's the same capacity as a leader in the military. And yes, you might have gotten through extra training and gotten through XYZ, or even went to college while you were enlisted. But still, when you get out, you are expected to maintain that pillar of strength.
Yes, absolutely. And they just, you should know. Okay.
Should I?
Should I? Like, how do
I just had 20 years locked in this box, dude.
Yeah. Like this is like, it's literally going from a warm blanket to like out in the freezing cold, no clothes on.
Yeah.
And you really like, everything's different. How you talk to people, how you do resumes, how they view you. How do you sell yourself and all your skills without having a piece of paper on the wall? Yeah. That kind of thing, which that's been very frustrating for me.
Yeah.
But it's worked out in the end. I'm thankful for the foundation and for my boss who brought me on, and that really, it gave me a path outward.
Yes.
And it's done a lot for me.
So let's talk about that gap. Kind of like you're transitioning out fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Now you're working for an amazing organization and foundation that's got to be quite therapeutic for you as well.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I mean, I love it because it's just like what I did in the military. I mean, we manage projects in the military. Everything's a project, and these are the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I get to see where it goes, and I get to meet these people that are, absolutely amazing people that both within our program, and then the people who are willing to give. And it's fantastic.
It also keeps you relative and engaged with your community, right?
Yes,
the
very
veteran
much so.
community. It's one thing that Dave and I both recommend to people is getting involved with a nonprofit during your transition period because it'll allow you a different outlet. It'll allow you a new skill set, and it keeps you within the community as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's great watching these guys come and have a ball.
Yeah.
We were for Valero Texas Open, we put 10 guys. We partner with North Texas Warriors Golf Association, and we put 10 guys apiece into the pro-am, because we provide the wounded warriors, and then the pro part recipients and whatnot, and then BAMC provides the active duty guys that go and play. But we do 2 days of golf beforehand with donors and sponsors and all that. And it's so amazing watching these guys. I mean, they literally open up and become like people.
Yeah.
If you talk to them any other time, they're just kind of quiet and they're having fun, but completely different person in their element on the golf course. We actually started like filming. We call it the Golf Cart Chronicles. So we're filming them as we're driving around, as they're just being people.
Yeah, being goofballs.
Oh yeah, and it's funny. Like, whoa, we cost too much. Well, no, I want it raw.
Yeah,
I want to hear this.
Yeah, don't leave it out.
Yeah, this is fun. This is what our people want to hear.
Part of our
Unfiltered.
personality.
Yeah, and so that is a huge topic we talk about on like those who are a part of a foundation that never have served in the military, a military support or veteran support organization. And it's a constant battle for reminding these organizations that it's about the men and women who've served.
Yeah.
It's not about pushing this impact out so that you could raise more dollars. And I understand there's a fine balance between that, but at the end of the day, don't forget who you serve.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's always a struggle. It's always
it's fine balance, especially as a leader within. So before we dive too much into your foundation, I want to kind of just dissect what it is, what your mission is, how it was started, and what are the programs you do now, some of the favorites you have going on.
So we were started in 2007 by General Leroy Sisko, and then our executive, I'm having a brain fart, executive director, Ken Eakes. And they kind of started with Skills for Life, but then rotated into the houses. And so our main mission is to provide support to combat wounded veterans and Gold Star families. Okay. And we say it used to be Pro Parts, but we say combat wounded veterans because we also try to bring in people, because PTSD is a combat wound we don't give an award for, and it's one of the ones that creates the most chaos within our community.
True.
So we try to bring them in as well. And so, but we have 4 main programs. The first one is Skills for Life program, which it's recreational therapy facilitated through hunting, fishing, and golfing. We serve about 300 veterans a year. We try. This year we have about 75 events going on between hunting, fishing, and golfing.
Wow.
And we have our own ranch now, Four Heroes Ranch out in Junction, Texas. And we take as many people as we can so they can go get to experience and do things that they wouldn't normally otherwise get to do.
Yeah.
From my own experience, kind of David brought me in we went to Spike S Ranch and I shot an oryx. Ended up being, we were just clearing out the pen because he wanted to put all whitetails in there. But ended up shooting an oryx that would have cost over $20,000 had you wanted to pay for it, because it ended up being like this almost state record. But giving him those experiences and having fun and just being with the guys, and because that's the second piece of it, the peer-to-peer mentorship. Because at the end of the day, during the middle of the day and then after the hunts in the evening, we're just having a good time. Everybody's around the fireplace talking, and you will hear suddenly war stories are like the ultimate thing. Basic training, any kind of school, and war stories. Suddenly it's just and they're all up till 1 a.m. talking about
drinking and
Well, I mean, there's some of that, but not a lot. It's just mostly having a good time.
Yeah.
And
that's important to note, and that's why I bring it up. You get some organizations out there that are free and clear. So there's a fine balance between adventure therapies, as there is anything, and it can be detrimental, some of these programs that are out there, when you allow veterans to get around a campfire and drink up until 3 a.m. in the morning, and then operate a rifle at 8 a.m.
And safety is a huge thing for us. So it's like anything else, being a jump master. If you show up in a certain way, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You're done. But because that's so paramount for us, and anytime we go anywhere, and we always have one of our guys with the people, or we have some of the landowners. They'll go with them, so they always have guides with them. Because a lot of times we're also, we go into pastures where there's 200-inch plus deer, and so we got to kind of watch what we're doing and make sure we're shooting the right animal.
Yeah. So that peer-to-peer piece really plays a huge
It's huge.
part.
It's a huge factor for us. And then, of course, the recreational therapy piece of it. And so we do events all year. We also do other things in hunting. So we do a few camping trips, some long-range shooting. We actually, Bagara just donated 4 rifles. And then
Very cool.
Vortex donated the scopes.
Nice.
And so we're going to go out. Now we're finally on cue with some really nice rifles. We're going to start showcasing those rifles. And we have a long-range shoot coming up. We're going to do that with them. Cool. And then I've been trying to get more of and we talk about adventure therapy with recreational therapy, but we have an adventure program that I'm trying to kind of start back up, and do a few more of the fun things.
Okay.
We're not going to do skydiving, but we'll do stuff like I'm trying to get a partnership going where we get some side-by-sides, and we we go through a whole thing of decking them out, and then we take them on the Race to Midnight. And we take probably 5 or 6 of the guys in our program, and they ride with us. And it's just a circle. And you just do as many laps as you can. And it's the good thing about it is I don't have to I'm not trying to win anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a warm-up race for other desert racing series for the Mint and all that. So there's no pressure. And we just have fun. Just have fun, have a good time. But like I said, I think the key feature is that they're together. They do enjoy hunting and fishing and all that, but the time together is where we make our money.
The community is arguably one of the most important things, especially in the transition, or if you find yourself in one of those positions where, you've been out for a while, you're struggling, you can't find work, you can't find your own community, group of friends. Getting reintroduced to a community and new challenges to overcome, much like adventure therapy or recreational therapy, I think it's invaluable. And being able to lean on people, right?
Yeah.
Having them lean on you, realizing that, I'm not the only one struggling with these issues. There's a lot of people going through the same exact thing, learning from them. How did they get through it? What are the steps that they took for, to process, these negative emotions or these past traumas or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Community is by and far the most important thing.
No, absolutely. And also being able to do it without any stress on them for anything, because, we cover everything.
Yeah.
We fly them in, we pick them up, we cover everything.
That's huge.
For them, and including if we need any processing or taxidermy, everything's covered. But talk kind of enough about them. Moving on, we have our big name ones that you kind of hear about a lot are the Homes for Wounded Heroes, the Homes for Gold Star Families. It is mortgage-free homes that we give to people who qualify in certain areas. We're reaching, I think we're right at or just about over 1,000 homes now in that time frame.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
I think we've given the most. I haven't ran the numbers, but I've been told we've given the most out of any homes program in the United States.
Does that number include home refurbishments, or is that mortgage-free homes?
It's just mortgage-free homes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, because the banks will give us homes, and then they'll give us grants to kind of refurbish them.
Yeah.
And then, and this is kind of the big thing that we don't really talk about is the home is great. It's cool. But that really is a catalyst to get them into our mentorship program. So if somebody sponsors the mentorship program for their whole time in it, it's 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, they get their deed. But the point is that they go through family life and financial counseling and mentorship the entire time.
Beautiful.
And on average, I think anywhere between $20,000 and $40,000, they reduction in debt for them, and then of course they get their home. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, they'll call sometimes, be like, "Oh, how it is with remodeling homes. Sometimes something doesn't go right, and they'll call us, and we're like, all right, well, we need a new roof, and so we'll get a new roof for them." We actually recently Vietnam Medal of Honor recipient. We partnered with another organization and Property Masters, and we got a new roof for him because he couldn't afford. He was in Florida and he couldn't afford a roof, so we got him a new roof.
Yeah,
and took care of him. But things like that.
That's important to know too. Is that continued service towards the veteran or Gold Star family member. You see, I think we talked about this earlier as well, is that you get the flashy picture of the veteran with the new home, and then there are some incidences where there's organizations that they provide it and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any maintenance or anything, and there are veterans that you're serving that are missing limbs, sometimes 2-3 at a time. Some are paraplegic, so that's difficult. And it when we look at programs that are coming out from these nonprofits, it's supposed to be a hand up. It's supposed to help you and be a catalyst, as you said, to their success of their future, not a detriment in any capacity.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of our mentorship program, is helping them understand the taxes and all the stuff that goes into maintaining a home, because it's not cheap. There's a lot that goes on there, but what are the benefits they get? We've maintained about a 75% staying in the homes, which again, I think that's the highest of any of the homes programs in the nation.
Yeah, because in especially with one of the lowest, and correct me if I'm wrong here, kind of handing over the deeds at 3 years is pretty quick for most programs. Usually it's 7. There's a set. I know there's 5, 7, and a 10. I know of 3 organizations that do about that.
And I'm just my ignorance towards that, I guess I don't know.
Yeah. 3's quick is my point.
Yeah. And then and I do know, because we're trying to partner with a Soldier's Journey Home to do a house next year. And I know they keep the deed for 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
So before they give it to you. So we're kind of working through all that, but we look forward to working with them. They do stick-built homes, which is amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Of course, everything if there's any ADA compliance that's needed, of course that's covered.
Yeah.
Like that is not, there's no question in that. If you need ADA compliant stuff, we're getting it for you.
Yeah. I think that's actually a really interesting topic to hit on too, is that there are some grants that are within that are provided for, like let's say amputees.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
So what the big one that I know of is through the VA, where you can I think it's up to $150,000. I believe is what it is. It's a heavy hitter.
And it's gone up in the last 4 years twice, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. So it was started at $89,000.
Okay.
Then it went to about 100, and I'm not familiar if it's at about 150.
Last time we talked, it was at 96.
96?
Yeah, and it was every 5 years, I think. You could take advantage, or every 6 years.
I'm not sure about that one, but it's a heavy hitter.
Yeah,
the point
it's
is
substantial.
Yeah, and we definitely use that to our advantage. We'll get that money for refurbishment for ADA people, but letting them know that that's available.
Yeah,
and to be able to, that's kind of like a quiet thing. I didn't know that.
It is a quiet thing.
We were actually at a shoot with Jordan Smith. We went to Back the Blue, and it was a clay shoot, and he was telling me about it. It's like, oh yeah, the ADA. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and another one, just kind of while we're at the topic, is the VA vehicle grant as well.
I didn't even know that.
So I think it's up to about 20,000 now. Wow. Where if you say you're an amputee, you qualify for that. They will put down 20,000, 25,000.
Got it right here, actually, for anyone curious. Fiscal year 24, it's $117,014.
And it's really important to note on that as well, that if you use, say, like 89,000 for the ADA compliancy, you could still dip into that that remainder.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And it says you can use it up to 6 times in your life.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
Potentially,
So as that goes up, so say for instance, I got mine when it was at 89,000. In 10 years from now, when it's up to 150,000, I could dip into that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We really need that, because ADA compliant houses are not cheap.
No.
Especially for some of
these.
They
have a cosmetics grant at the VA too. I'm sure you probably haven't heard of that. It's like $7,500 for like new paveways and driveways and gravel and stuff like that. So landscaping is used for a lot too.
Wow.
It's very interesting how quiet it is though. It's like, and I always tell people this, if you're having difficulties at the VA, it's because you're not doing the right paperwork.
Yeah.
This is true. Well, that and like people just don't know. I ran into that. So I went out to Kerrville because I was waiting on my rating. And, there's the program where you can still get mental health for 2 years if you're a combat veteran. So I went out to Kerrville just because it's less busy out there. But it's mostly the older population. And so when I went up to the receptionist, she was like, "Oh no, you got to fill this out and do this and this and get permission." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And so I ended up actually going to Audie Murphy, and they were like, "Yeah, come on back. Let's get you an ID card and let's get you started." I'm like, "Okay." So it was really just, and it wasn't they didn't want to help. She was very nice. They just didn't know. And I've noticed that is like a lot of people just don't know.
Yeah. Like the employees within is what you're talking about too. Totally agreed. Totally agreed. But it's one of those things as well. It's just so much red tape and approval it's easier to almost say, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. This is true. This is true. They make it a pain. Like, they make it a pain in the
Don't
butt.
ask me. I just work here.
Yeah. Ooh. Like, they don't pay me enough to know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about some of those reactions. I'd just be curious to, like, when you do finally reveal that home to the veteran and their families, or the Gold Stars and their families, like what does that do for you, and that fulfillment that you might have gotten in the military and helping with your transition out? So that's got to be a huge hit on your mental health in a positive direction.
It's so I've only actually gotten to be there when 2 people receive their homes. Just because I'm not mainly a part of those programs, I do help where I can, just because, hey, we need help. So I find something, like, because I had the contacts for a Soldier's Journey Home, I was able to get that up and running. But so I did 2 George Strait concerts, and we generally, if anybody's ever been to a George Strait concert and they see a home given away, that's us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that is us. We are completely 100% partnered with George Strait. I'm actually going to College Station to do my 3rd one. And we're giving away a home. Diligent Consulting sponsored it here in San Antonio.
Very cool.
So we're going to give that home away. But it was amazing. I mean, these guys, they know they're getting the home already. Generally, that kind of thing is like, we're still working on the home. We haven't quite. We do 3 ceremonies generally. We do like we're giving the home to them, the key ceremony where they're going to get the key to the home, and that's at the house. And then there's the deed ceremony where they have graduated and they get the deed. So we, they get quite a bit of recognition as we go through, because we want to recognize their success.
Yeah.
So I've been to 2 home recipient where they know they're getting the home, but we're going to kind of give it to them on stage, and they get the key. They get the big key and all that stuff for it. Anyway, I have never seen so many men cry on stage in front of thousands of people, and it was just it's amazing to watch that.
Yeah.
To get to watch them be given a home, and it makes all the world of difference to them.
It's palpable in the crowd too.
Oh yeah.
You can feel that.
Oh, it changes. The whole air changes.
It's like you could hear that pin drop,
Yeah.
You hear the sniffles. And
Yeah, it's amazing. And then everybody wants, the whole focus changes from the king to them. As they're coming down off the stage and moving back to their seat, he's singing and everybody's paying attention to him.
Yeah.
To that family, or Gold Star family, or that veteran, or whoever it is at the time. And it's amazing. I had a wonderful time. And of course, everybody that's involved, and all the support we get. Because I know it's a lot. It's a lot. So, I guess that answers your question. I'm sorry.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely does. Yeah, absolutely does. Because, it's important. We talk about this all the time, is what's instilled upon us is that selfless service. And we hit on this episode quite a bit. And finding that balance between self-service and is difficult. But through engagement with your community, like-minded individuals, and nonprofit work, we're able to kind of soften the blow of some of the tough things that happened to us in the past.
Oh, absolutely. And it's also recognizing them for what the sacrifices they made.
Yes.
Because I think that kind of goes without saying. That doesn't happen a lot, as much as it should.
And that's something that's lacking, I think, in a lot of the civilian world. Is it really is. It's a passively cutthroat, right, where they'll stab you in the back, not to your front, like you're used to doing. Is like, I'm going to charge you head on and take care of this issue aggressively. And in that world, it's like everybody's out for themselves. Everybody's looking for credit. Sometimes not that extreme, but there is that. But when you get exposed to this world, nonprofit wherever it is, it's not just in military support or veteran support, you have that ability to have that outlet for selflessly serving.
Yeah, it's a team effort, and everybody's on board. It's not talking about kind of that cutthroatness in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you navigate that as well. I mean, you see what that's like, because you're going after corporate donors and things like that. And I think, we mentioned that too, is that the support is not like it was before. And as we're pushing further and further away from a wartime environment, how are we going to navigate those fields?
We stop being in the forefront of everything going on. And then, it's the flashiness of everybody, because they don't think about the other stuff, the flashiness of missing legs and arms. And well, that's kind of moved on.
Yeah.
And
most of them have been helped.
Yeah, they've been helped. And I mean, there's still a lot that haven't. Sure. We're trying to get there, we're trying to get all of it done. But now, it's moved into, because we just started a special operations home, which is like a halfway house almost, for them getting care. It's in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, very cool.
What does that look like?
So it's essentially they have to get special care. Like we have a lot of cancer.
Okay.
And then, of course, special operations, they're still getting legs and arms and all that blown off and getting shot. And so they're receiving care, especially in transition. And so they come in, they can stay there for a certain amount of time, and then they receive the care, and everything's, of course, taken care of.
Okay.
It's kind of like a Fisher House kind of thing where
Fisher House concept, yes.
Fisher House concept where you're able to like not worry about the noise around you, so you could focus on outpatient work.
Yes, and the big difference with the Fisher House is like this is the veteran and the family.
Okay.
They're there together. It's not. It's not.
That is a huge.
It's not separated like where the veterans in the hospital and then which Fisher House is wonderful.
Yeah,
and they do it.
It really is. It truly is a wonderful.
It does what it needs to do, and we're just a little different. We're trying to actually get funding to start a second home. We're looking at doing it in the Raleigh-Durham area because like Duke and North Carolina State, they're all there, and they're like kind of like the hub for military medical research, other than like BAMC and Walter Reid. So, but a lot of the stuff that those two hospitals use comes out of this little triangle for medical research, and so we're trying to start another home there, so they're even closer to the research and to the help they can get.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, like special operations and partnering with them, because I've been told that I know that special operations had a ton of programs that the federal government did for them, but those, I guess, from what I understand, they're starting to kind of dry up. Money's starting to dry up. And so we're trying to get into that arena to help all those guys.
Beautiful.
But yes, as anything, it's not in the forefront of people's minds.
And it's quite frankly, it is our job to remind them.
Yes.
Because there are people suffering out there. Like we said, 57% higher than the national average. And most of these guys, as you mentioned too, and part of that mission statement of yours is the invisible wounds. It's not just the shiny. I could say it because I'm one. The shiny penny veteran out there that has a missing limb that we could plaster on billboards and raise money with, because it is going in a different direction than that, and it needs to be thought of very tactfully.
And I honestly and I can tell you from my own experience, I didn't, I always denied any issues from being overseas. And then when you start talking about it, and because I didn't really have any issues, and then when life slowed down, and I knew I was getting out, and I was over at UTSA, and it really wasn't a hard job. I wasn't working like 18 hours a day, and then rescuing privates from the MPs on the weekends. Suddenly, everything just hit me: nightmares and constant issues and all that. Like,
slowed down.
Freaked out to a Max Pro. Somehow, I don't know how this is, but Kendall County has a Max Pro. I'm pretty sure it's military surplus because it had a full gunner's cupola on top. And I'm like, I know you guys don't have the equipment to put in that thing. And I had a breakdown, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me right now? And so that kind of opened my eyes to like, we've got to do something about this.
It's got to address it. You can't compartmentalize for the next 20 years, my friend.
Yes. And then, but then like, we got to help others
Yes.
because a lot of people still are denying it and they don't want to deal with it. And it's hard. It's hard pulling those demons out. And
It's hard to want to face them, you know?
yes.
And I think the key is to show your vulnerability. And once you show your vulnerability, it opens, it provides that invitation. Yeah. That's why these adventure therapies are so dead on, because if I just want to sit there by the fire and listen, I can, right? If I go to the VA and into a group therapy session, David, tell me what you think. You're welcome. Welcome here to the circle. What do you want to share today? No, it's not like that. It's not pushy. Yeah. I'm vulnerable, and it inspires courage within them to be vulnerable as well.
Fully knowing that we're not going to judge them on any of it.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely not.
And it'll probably make you consider the issues that you're dealing with from a more realistic standpoint than if you were in, you know, a therapeutic environment, which totally separate conversation. I think you should be open and honest when you're in therapy. Don't lie to your therapist because it's not going to benefit you. But when you're around the same type of people who are expressing those types of things, it can click something in you.
Also,
make you realize it.
The adventure therapy, I know it's not on my permanent record. When I go to the VA and I'm like, you know, I am having suicidal ideations, guess what? That's following me for life.
Yes.
And despite what they all say, or you go to the local battalion psychologist, whatever it is, you get things stripped away from you. So like adventure therapy is that just, it's a sweet mix of allowing people to be open, free upon themselves and move at their own pace. Inspire through conversations.
Now, I will say, you know, we would put ourselves in mandatory reporting. So, of course, you know, a danger to themselves or anybody else, then we're going to get them the help they need.
Yeah, of course.
And not just let them kind of fly off into the blue.
I love that disclaimer because maybe that example wasn't the best.
No. It's good. It's good. I always make sure that people don't think that like, oh, you're going to get yourself cool. Oh, we're hunt over.
Me
go home.
too. Yeah. Let's go hunting.
Yeah.
Yes. Not at all. Not at all.
Be my hunting buddy.
That's a good point. I'm glad you said that.
Safety is paramount.
Yes.
Absolutely paramount for
Maybe
us.
we're not going to let you hunt today.
But getting them to, but really, if you stop and think about it, just getting them to say that, it's like, okay, we have now, we've met what we needed to do. You may not go hunting that day, and we're going to go get you help, but we've gotten to that step, which is the hardest step to take.
It really is.
And that makes all the difference in the world.
Beautiful.
So I didn't, cars, let me finish with the programs. I'm sorry. Because we've got two other programs.
Okay.
And I know you're on a kind of a time constraint.
Totally
We have our transportation for troops, which is the car program, essentially same as cars. Same as homes, but it's for cars. And you have to do a 1-year mentorship program. Same thing, same idea, reduction of debt, understanding everything, help, and all that kind of stuff. In fact, that reminds me, I need to follow up on something. And then Leadership for Life, which is, it's a year-long leadership program that we do, leadership and mentorship program, just trying to get their confidence up and get them ready for the whole world. That's really a really good transition program for a lot of people.
That's beautiful. That's a good one.
What type of workload is that? So you said it's a year-long program. So what type of workload am I putting in weekly or monthly?
So they generally meet digitally once a week, and then they try to do face-to-face every few months.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have a graduation at the end. And so we fly everybody in and do a graduation kind of thing. But mostly digital. And they meet, and they have their goals and how they're going on their goals and the different things, the aspects and all that.
And you connect them with different resources throughout, I imagine.
Yeah, they connect with all kinds of things.
It's fantastic.
So,
and I wish the military would adopt a program like that, but I'm glad that you guys are doing it.
But that's why nonprofits exist, is to support, where we're lacking within the federal agencies.
and to be completely honest, when you stop and think about it, I mean, this stuff's not cheap. So the federal government they have their priorities, and so they have to do what we do. So we step in to fill what they're not able to do, what the VA is not able to do, because the money has to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, and we're happy to be here to do that, to fill that gap for them.
We're happy you're here.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, same. And don't be surprised if we start throwing some veterans your way.
Absolutely. We need it. You need to come out with us. Both of you need to come out with us.
Absolutely.
And go hunting sometime soon.
That'd be great.
We'll go shoot some hogs.
Fantastic.
Kill them
Only from a
bastards.
helicopter.
I don't have a helicopter.
Damn.
If you know somebody has a helicopter, we could do that.
There are two people who have helicopters.
Oh, well, let's
we
do
could
it
ask.
then.
We could ask.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit. We'll provide everything else. I don't have a helicopter.
No, I was just joking a little bit, but we would love to join you and see what you're all about. We've seen some of the work that you've done. Just got to commend you for it.
Appreciate it.
Especially like just jumping right out of the military into this as well.
Yeah.
I think it's the smartest move. It's something that I did. It's something that Christian did, and I think it's helped, our transition and our ability to kind of mesh back with the society and in a leadership role.
Absolutely. Because around the same people.
That's it. That's it.
And then you get to meet people like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you were a best ranger too, weren't you?
I was not. No.
Oh, you weren't. Okay, so he was the other gentleman I met.
Adam. Yes.
You have to forgive me. I am horrible with names. I forget just about everything now unless I
me too,
write
Brad.
it down. All right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to do that now.
Yeah.
It's Brett.
Yeah.
Brett.
Fantastic. Well, is there anything you wanted to add towards the end here?
Yeah. Basically, if anybody would love to support us, we'd love for you to come out and reach out to us. You can find us at militarywarriors.org. You can either donate there, or any of the veterans out there. If you'd like to join, if you'd like to apply for a home or a car, we ask that you be a Purple Heart recipient or Gold Star family, or if you'd like to join us on any hunting, fishing, or golfing recreational therapy adventures, just go ahead and go and sign up. If you have 50% greater VA rating from combat, Purple Heart recipient, or Gold Star family, we take everybody hunting, fishing, and golfing. We do family events, we do spouse events, we do everything under the sun. So we'd love for you to come and join us. We take about 300 people a year. And at the end of that, it's a 3-year program. At the end of that 3-year program, you're going to get to go and do some things that you would never get to do anywhere else. You love golfing, play in a pro-am. If you love hunting, go in to shoot elk and moose, and then mule deer, and maybe some exotics as our ranch continues to build. And then also for fishing, we're taking some guys up to Alaska to go halibut fishing.
That's amazing.
Beautiful.
And hoping to set up some sturgeon and walleye fishing in Washington this next year.
Nice.
So just doing some really fun things. And we'd really love for everybody to come and join us. It is a bit of a process, so I understand. We need to vet you. Go through, just fill out the paperwork, get us what we need, and we're going to get right on the way. But the other thing I'd like to talk about is we actually have, we kind of partner with 9 Line. And I actually met them at SHOT Show. Do you guys go to SHOT Show?
We go attend, but Terra Arma has not attended yet.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys go this next
Well,
year.
we're kind of on the fence about it, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
We go to other shows.
It's fun, though.
A lot of other shows.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Good.
We've been a bunch of times.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
But get your plug in.
Oh, yeah, I'm going. I'm going.
plug.
Anyway,
Yeah.
9 Line.
9 Line. 9/11.
T-shirts.
So anyway, we partner with them, and this is for our Four Heroes Ranch. And so proceeds of every shirt bought goes back to us, and it's going to go directly to the ranch and taking people hunting. Because it costs us about $3,000 to take 4 people hunting out there, roughly, depending on how many people we had to fly in or do all those kind of things. And so this is going to go directly to all of that.
Yeah.
And so, it's going to run for 2 weeks. It started on Friday, and it'll run for 2 weeks, and they're available. We have a sweatshirt, T-shirt, women's shirt, and a long sleeve shirt available with this pattern. We'd love for everybody to go and help us out, and then also just to show us off.
Amazing.
I'd love to do something with Terra Armor too.
Yes. Well, we'll have that conversation for another day.
Yes, sir.
For now, go and check out these guys, see the amazing work they do. Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate you sharing your story and your mission.
Oh, one last thing. Can I?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you got it.
Please.
I want to let everybody know that we managed to do all this with a 5% overhead.
Oh, great.
Wow.
So
95's out.
95% goes back to the programs.
That's huge.
That
which
is
is-
huge.
We don't really do a whole lot of advertising, so we are the greatest story never told. But that's because we try to keep such a low overhead.
No, that's fantastic. That means for those who are the uninitiated, that's 95 cents of every dollar that they make, they donate back to the cause. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, well done on that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for having me on. This is amazing.
Thank you,
This
Ryan.
was fun.
Appreciate it. This has been the Medevac podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today. Review the episode, please. Hit that little star button
Subscribe.
on Spotify. Hit the
For the love of
subscribe, whatever it is. Engage with the video somehow. We do the same for you. If you're interested in learning more about Military Warriors, Military Warrior Support Foundation,
Yes, sir.
militarywarriors.org.
MilitaryWarriors.org.
That's it. Head on over to the website. Link's going to be in the bio. Click the buttons, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you next time.
Bye.